A few weeks ago, Moment sent me a sample of their anamorphic lens adapter to test out. They brought this project to life in the summer of 2022 with filmmakers in mind, but I wanted to see if it was possible for photographers to get a good use out of this adapter too. As a portrait photographer, I'm always interested in new ways to add creative flair or narrative depth to an image by whatever means necessary. And in this case, an anamorphic adapter provides a lot of visual interest that I've never tapped into before. I first tested the adapter in studio with some friends. I primarily backlit them with a tungsten bulb to give this really incredible flare across the image. I also added some atmosphere aerosol to add some haze and texture to the image. I love how moody these images turned out, and I think they reminded me a lot of what you'd find in a movie like Blade Runner. I primarily used my Canon R5 with the Canon EF85 1.2L lens, with the Moment anamorphic adapter attached to the front of the lens. I was also curious to see how this adapter responded to daylight, so Laura and I took a walk around our neighborhood during golden hour to test it out. The adapter flared beautifully against the sun and retained all of the character of the Canon 85 1.2 in the process. I really love the way these images turned out, and I think the subtle anamorphic distortion enhances the depth of each of these images too. Now, while the results are beautiful, there are a couple of quirks that come with using this adapter in a stills photography environment rather than a filmmaking environment, and I want to talk about some of those now. First and foremost, the full-frame sensors on mirrorless cameras such as the R5 are a different aspect ratio than a sensor in a cinema camera. It's a 3:2 versus a 16:9, and because of that, you're going to get a little more vignetting on focal lengths that are anywhere really less than 85 millimeters. In this example here, I used the RF50 1.2 on my Canon R5 with the Moment adapter, and you can see there's a lot of heavy vignetting on the corners of the frame. I actually talked to my buddy Josh Martin from Sunny 16 to help walk through these problems, so shout out Josh for helping me figure this out. But basically, by using a longer focal length, and in my case the 85 1.2 from Canon, that solved all of the problems as far as vignetting is concerned on the corners of the images. Once I had those vignetting issues solved, I actually found my next problem to be the physical form factor of this whole setup. As you can see here, it's a pretty enormous rig. This is that 85 1.2 that I was talking about. This is my Canon R5 here with the Canon EF to RF adapter in the middle, and then this is the Moment anamorphic adapter on the front. It's a huge setup. Like seriously, it's a lot to deal with, and because of that, it made for a pretty tricky shooting experience. Basically, the way that I did it was get my palm rested on the camera right here on the 85. And then I used my fingers in the front to manually focus the adapter, and then I had my hand gripped back here. Because of that, I was pretty spread thin as I was shooting, and I think in some circumstances I was more focused on holding my breath and just making sure I was actually getting things in focus rather than being creative. So it took a little bit of practice to get that balance down, but once I was there, it felt a little more natural, and I am really happy with how all the images turned out. It was just a bit of a chore to get there. One thing that was super helpful in the case of the R5 specifically is that using focus peaking in camera made it a lot easier to get images in focus. So it wasn't perfect, and I still missed focus on a ton of stuff, but if you are using a mirrorless camera in this setup that does offer focus peaking, I'd highly recommend it because it makes it a whole lot easier. With those caveats out of the way, let's jump into Lightroom and Photoshop to talk about how I edited and de-squeezed these images. In Lightroom, edit your squeezed images with your preferred profile or preset. Then, crop your image to a 16:9 aspect ratio. Next, right-click your image, click Edit In, and select Photoshop. Now that we're in Photoshop, it's time to do some math. Go up to your toolbar and select Image Size. Now, multiply the width of your image by 1.33, which is the squeeze factor of the Moment anamorphic adapter. This image was taken on my Canon R5, so I'll take that width of 8,192
multiply it by 1.33, and get 10,895. Click OK, watch your image de-squeeze, and now you'll never want to shoot portraits any other way.